Welcome to the Empower Series Online. My name is Clifton Johnson. I'm the founder of the Empower Series Incorporated. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we're brought to you by the generous donations of individuals like yourself, so thank you. We're also brought to you by AE Media Group, so thank you AE Media Group for making us look good on social media and giving us a global reach. And I want to take a special moment to thank Comerica Bank. They've been our presenting sponsor since 2011, and we are a recent recipient of their COVID-19 $15,000 grant. So Comerica Bank, thank you. And I want to thank not just Comerica Bank, but every individual at every level that we've worked with, because Comerica Bank truly focuses on relationships and helping businesses and individuals succeed. And I can tell you from a personal experience, from the leadership that I've met with in all of the markets of Comerica Bank in California, Arizona, Michigan, definitely Texas, as well as Florida, they have all been committed to the communities that they serve and really making sure that they are true community partners, helping people be successful. So thank you, Comerica Bank. The mission of the Empower Series is to positively impact the world by inspiring people to thrive in every area of their lives. We believe that the principles to be successful in one area of your life is transferable to every area of your life. In every program, our goal is to give you hope that whatever you envision and dream, you can achieve. We want to inspire you to take action. We definitely want to educate you and make sure that you're left with more knowledge than you had when you began. So whether that's around visioning and goal setting, life insurance, financial literacy, estate planning, whatever our topic is, being able to purchase a home, we want to make sure that we're educating you. And then lastly, we want to connect you to resources that are critically important to help you take that next step to achieving your goal. That brings us to our guest today. Our guest today is Jay Maymi. Jay is a very successful business owner. He's a bodybuilding champion. He's a radio talk show host. He's a public speaker, and he's an author of 10 books, ranging from different aspects of sales to personal development. But what you'll find out is that his story doesn't begin with the silver spoon in his mouth. In the very beginning, just like anything else, we're all called to believe in this vision that we have for ourselves, regardless of the current circumstances that we're in. And when you hear about Jay's story, I would just tell you that it is an inspiring story that will not only want us to survive whatever we're going through in life, but really to thrive. With that being said, let's welcome Jay to the Empower Series Online and hear how we can thrive in the new decade.
Hey, it is a pleasure to be here, my friend. Thanks once again for inviting me. I'm looking forward to having another great evening with you and hopefully inspire some people for 2021.
Yeah, well, one of your sayings is that you just don't want to survive, you want to thrive. And so I love that. That's in alignment with our Empower Series and our mission. We believe that the principles it takes to succeed or to thrive in your life in any area is transferable to every area of your life. So we are definitely on the same page, and I can't wait to hear your points to help us bring it all together. So every year we talk about different topics every month, and in November we always have a general topic of bringing it all together. And so for you to help us bring this all together to thrive for the year 2021 is so key, given the challenging year that we've had in 2020. So I can't wait to hear your points and your wisdom that you're going to share with us.
Well, it's interesting. Time does fly, and if you consider that it was 12 months ago that I was hosting the year-end event for you, talking about thriving in the new decade and the roaring 20s, right? And the fact of the matter is the roaring 20s came and there's nothing roaring about them and more like a whisper. Right? It's like a whispering 20, because who would have guessed 12 months ago that this is what we would be facing 12 months later? And the fact of the matter is all of the great insight and wisdom that I shared, I think a lot of people are about to hit the reset button 2021, because most people, quite frankly, didn't expect to find themselves in the predicaments they're in now. Some people are still dealing with some harsh situations. But I believe that folks are gearing up for a comeback. I really believe that. I get a chance to talk to people all the time. They've had it with 2020, right? We're still not out of it. We still got a few more weeks to go. Who knows what can happen? But I think people are starting to turn the corner on next year. And because of that, there is hope. There's a sense of enthusiasm and an excitement that I think is starting to surface again for them. So having this talk today, for those who pick up the talk over the next couple of weeks, even if they pick it up early into 2021, it's going to be so timely because some of the things I'll share will help that person who's looking to reinvent and reinvigorate and resell themselves on something great, something where they can get excited about because thriving is on the horizon. They'll be able to apply some of these principles that I'm going to share and make next year a fantastic year.
Yeah, well, there's a saying that the road to construction, excuse me, the road to success is always under construction.
Oh, I like that. That's right.
Yeah, and we have a vision in the beginning of the year of what we want to accomplish, but we got to be committed to a process of success and not so emotionally attached to the results of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the principles that you're going to share with us is like being committed to the process. So having a vision and believing in that and the other things that are so critical to help manifest that vision when your current circumstances is nowhere close to where you want to be, right?
That's right. That's right. But part of I think one of the ingredients that every successful person shares, one of the common denominators, is that they're able to look into the future. They're able to sort of understand, okay, this is where I'm at physically, but they have this innate ability to look into the future, to see really and truly what's down the road, and let that be what pulls them into the future. And I would share with the viewers that if you don't have something that pulls you into tomorrow, then you're left to looking at what's happening today. And
Yeah.
sometimes what's happening today is not exciting. It's not. It's discouraging. But you have to have something that you can recognize as what's going to lead you towards tomorrow, and that today is just temporary.
Yeah, man, it's like it seems so non-exciting to say that the key is having goals. Like, where do you see yourself in the future? And a lot of times people just don't take the time to crystallize and get very clear on what their purpose is and what does that look like? What does that feel like? I think this life is simply a manifestation of our ideas. And either our ideas are intentional and we take the time to craft them in enough detail to pull us forward, or we just go in automatic pilot and we drift.
You said something key there. The simplicity of goal setting. Uh, People think that success is something that is complex, something that is mysterious and lacks transparency, and it's only reserved for those that are anointed. But the reality is, success requires simple things done over and over and over again with discipline. And that's where people fall short. They never identify what the simple things are. Heck, they never identify things, let
Yeah.
alone simple. And then once they do, they lack the discipline to see it through, follow it through with regularity, with consistency. And I think ultimately, if you look at anyone that's had any measure of success or who has thrived, they didn't do anything outside of that. They were consistent with their activities, and they maintained them very, very simple. And this overarching sense of discipline is what kept them going until they created the momentum that now for others it looks like success. But all it is the momentum of those small things that they did daily. That's really what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's so timely because even at this point with COVID-19 happening, I can recall just waking up certain days and knowing intellectually what I need to do, but just not being inspired to move and to do it. You know, and so depression is real. And some of the things that I think we tend to talk about a lot are the different steps that are required. But I really would like to get your input on when we know what needs to be done, but yet we don't do it, what can we do to give us that spark? What kind of things can we put around us or people we can put around us to help us do the things we know we need to do when we're not doing them?
That's a great, great question. And I'm going to take a little bit more time to really to evolve a great answer. Okay. I used to be a personal trainer when I was one of my first early entrepreneurial expressions was as a personal trainer. when I used to train people, they would usually show up in January, right after the holidays, part of the New Year's resolution. Everyone knows that. Uh, but I learned early on that people would join, they would pay the money up front because I always got the money up front. I got there 90 days up front. And then within about 2 weeks, they would just disappear. And I used to always ask myself, why would these people pay this money up front? They would make the effort to cut those, so they'd pay the gym membership, then they'd pay me, and then they would quit 2 weeks later. As I started to really understand human psychology and behavioral patterns, I realized that really it lends to what you just asked. People start off with good intentions. We all have good intentions, but a good intention falls very short from the end result unless you have a picture, number one, of what the end result looks like.
Mhm.
So with those people that I would train, I would say that I learned afterwards, I would say to them, before we go any further, the next time we get together, I want you to bring me a picture of what you want to look like. And they would come back, bring me a picture of somebody a body, a physical body that looked like the body they would like to have in 6 months. And just doing something like that, Clifton, my retention of people coming back to continue the process. I wish I could say they hung in there for 6 months. They didn't, but they would come back for 3, 4, 5 months when they felt, okay, I'm close enough, I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
But one of the things that people lack, I've learned, is they don't have a mental picture of what it looks like when it's all said and done. They never develop a blueprint. So you can have a goal. You could say, I want to lose 20 pounds. But what does that really look like? And more importantly, what is that really going to feel like when you have those 20 pounds shed? Or when you've achieved the next level of academic performance? Or when you're operating your business well? What's it look like? And then what's it feel like? And once you identify that, here's the key that most people don't want to do. Go tell some other people about it. Go tell other people that these are your intentions, these are your goals, and have them hold you accountable. So that way, when they see that you're falling off the wayside, if they're good friends, if they're good people, if you trust them to hold you accountable, give them permission to call you up and kick you in the rear end and get you back on track. But that's where most people, they draw the line. They don't want to be held accountable. So they'll just, right? They'll just keep it under the lid and they won't tell somebody I'm losing weight. They won't tell somebody I'm starting my own business. They won't tell somebody I'm going to school again because they don't want others to hold them accountable, hold their feet to the fire, or even ask them, are you still doing that? Or how's it going? Or how's it coming along? And for them to feel like, hey, now I've got to explain to someone else why I failed, why I stopped. It's painful. So they'd rather not even tell anybody.
So that goes back to the two biggest things. It's not just setting goals, but it's getting very clear on what you envision the end result is. Like Stephen Covey says, beginning with the end in mind. So really having a clear vision and then surrounding yourself with people who are not just going to be feel-good people or people who are just going to say, hey, let's go out to the happy hour or let's go do some fun things. It's like, hold you accountable to your word. And so people that you surround yourself with is very critical. My son is in his third year at Ohio State getting an architect degree. And I think that that's a good example of what you're saying. As an architect, you have a vision in your mind of what you want to build. And you take steps to kind of get very clear on it. You create the sketching of it. You also create a model of it. And you get to the minute detail of crystallizing this vision that was in your mind. And then you put it out there and you present it to other people to say, okay, this is what I want to build. And we see that with the skyscrapers around downtown Dallas here. And so that principle applied to your personal life, whether it's your health, whether it's your business, whether it's graduating school, if you take that same concept of crystallizing the vision of you successfully graduating, you successfully reaching your physical goal or whatever goal you want to have, and then sharing that with your circle of people who are going to inspire you, like you said, and hold you accountable and probably make you uncomfortable when you decide you don't want to do something. They're going to say, no. forget that. Get up, get up and let's work out.
Right.
Right?
And it's funny, and that's why something as simple as what you just said, just to dovetail. Anybody who's serious about working on, you work out and I work out, so that we can use this analogy. It works so much better when you have somebody that you're working out with, a gym buddy. Why? Because that gym buddy is going to call you if you're supposed to meet at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, and you're not showing up, or if you make an excuse, hey, I can't make it because I'm tired. That gym partner of yours is going to say to you, hey, no, you're not. Get your butt up and meet me there. They're going to hold your feet to the fire. But more importantly, the reverse of that is you're not going to want to let somebody else down. And I want to just take a minute on that, because that's the hidden secret of having an accountability person, an accountability partner. Apart from them holding your feet to the fire, the reality is what's going to motivate you in part to keep going is you don't want to let them down. You don't want to let people that believe in you down. So that's going to force you to work a little harder, stay a little bit more focused, not give in so quickly, not let it get away so fast, because someone else is going to get let down. And as human beings, we're not wired to easily let other people down. We'll let ourselves down, but we won't let someone else down. And that's why it's critical to have somebody around you so that you won't let them down. And that might be the motivation you need to keep going.
Yeah, and you right. So whatever the motivation you need, if it's that, it's playing whatever game in your mind that's going to inspire you to take action as opposed to not taking action. So that's going to work for people who don't want to let other people down. But for someone who doesn't really care, that may not work. So whatever it is, you got to find what it is that gives you the juice, that makes you want to get up and do something that's really ultimately is better for you. But again, you've got to know yourself well enough to recognize in your mind what's going to be the little tricks to get you to take action.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you said that you have to know yourself well enough to know what you can handle, what you can't, what you should attempt, and what you should not. And here's one of the things, as you know, we can have a great time talking about all sorts of stuff, and this is why the Empower series is great, because everything we're talking about is about empowerment, empowering you to thrive. A mature person, and when I mean a mature person, I mean someone who is intellectually mature, someone who really knows what makes them tick, is not going to travel the road that leads them so quickly to disappointment, discouragement, doubt, disbelief, and depression. There's things I already know that if I go down that road, I know who I am. I know what my skill sets are. I know what my deficiencies are. I know what my passions are. I know what I don't like. I know what I do. I know all that stuff. If I end up going down a road or taking on a project or doing something that it's not doesn't fall within my wheelbarrow or doesn't fall within my identity, I'm setting myself up for discouragement, doubt, disbelief, disappointment, and ultimately I'm going to get depressed. Well, why would I want to do that? I'm going to stick to the highway that I know how to travel and work and maneuver in the lanes that I know how to do well. And I think a lot of people, and this is so important for 2021, they know the highway they should be on. Their skill sets point to what highway you should travel on. But yet somehow they convince themselves I should be on this highway because maybe somebody else said it, maybe because they're following somebody else's opinion or whatever. But that highway, you're not wired, you're not trained, you're not supposed to be on that highway, and that highway is going to lead you down a path of ultimately discouragement and destruction. So it's identifying your talents, your skills, and they're there for a reason, and implement them in a way that you know you'll have a greater probability of success.
So do you have a process that you help people go through if they tell you, well, I just don't know? Like, I hate that answer, but if people are stuck, usually they're stuck at a I don't know, and they just need some pathway to get some clarity on getting the answers to what you're asking. So do you have a process to help people do that?
I do, and it's funny you mention that because my son was just here. He was here on leave from the Marines. He's a Marine, and he's stationed at Camp Lejeune. So I hadn't seen him in a year because of COVID. He wasn't able to travel. I've not been able to travel. So literally, it's been a year since I've seen him. And so, it gives me opportunity to pour some wisdom into him. And he's having a hard time there on camp, like a lot of those guys are. There's nothing to do. They're stuck. They can't go anywhere. So they drive themselves nuts. So, but I said to him, I said, son, you're going to be, once your contract is up in about a year and a half, he's not signing another 4-year contract. So what are you planning on doing with your life? You're going to be 21, 22 years old. You got to start thinking now, what do you want to do? He says to me, Dad, I don't really know. So kind of to your point, I said, well, let's take a look at how we can point you in the right direction. So I had him write this down. What I had him write down is something that it took me a long time for me personally to figure out. And I think most people live their whole life and they never figure out what I'm about to say. Matter of fact, I'm positive people do that. Your gifts will always reveal your assignment. And your assignment fuels your purpose. And once you identify your purpose, passion is what comes as a result. You see people walking around, they got passion. They're like crusty bread. They're dry. They don't have any enthusiasm. I meet people like that. It's like, hey, I feel like telling them tomorrow morning when you get up, just sign the day away. Give it to somebody who wants to live. Just stay in bed. just sign the form. Just give it away to somebody else. Stay in bed because you got no zest. Those are passionless people. Why are they passionless? They're still searching for a purpose. And they're searching for a purpose because they're asking, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? What's my life about? People ask those questions.
Yeah.
And the reason why what I call a wandering generality is because they've never taken the time to identify their gifts. Their gifts and their talents. See, a gift is not something you have to work for. It's a gift. My son just turned 11 years old. We had a little party for him. I gave him a Nerf gun as a gift. I gave him Xbox games as a gift. It's a gift. He didn't have to work for that. It's a gift. We enter into this dimension, into this world, into this life, already programmed with gifts. My gifts I wasn't gifted with throwing a fastball at 95 miles an hour. That's why I'm not a pitcher for the major leagues. I wasn't gifted to do a lot of things. I identified my gifts a few years ago as somebody who's able to speak, somebody who's able to write, somebody who's able to, at the drop of a dime, create a message out of nowhere. Even my wife says, how do you do that? When I used to preach, I could take one scripture and I can create an hour message with no prep, right? I have the gift of creativity, the gift of direction, the gift of I have the gifts. I didn't go to school to write, Clifton. I didn't go to school to speak. I used to be a stutterer when I was young. But yet I've written 10 books. I speak all over the place. I produce, I direct, I do all sorts of stuff because that's my gift. It was given to me. Once I identified that I have the gift, I have multiple gifts, but all those gifts, the underlying theme for me, the underlying assignment is of a helper. Those gifts are designed to help other people, to change lives, to impact, to empower, to inspire, to instruct, and to influence. Those are my gifts. Now I know my assignment. So I can express my gifts in multiple assignments, whether it's books, speaking, a radio show. And my purpose is clear to me. It's to help people, to change people's lives. That's my purpose, and I get excited about that. I'm crystal. I don't doubt anymore what my purpose is. I don't doubt anymore what my assignment is. I know what they are. My gifts reveal that to me. So when I spoke to my son, I said to him, let's take a look at your gifts. You're 21, you're 20 years old. Yeah, you haven't lived long enough to know, but let's take a look at the gifts that we can identify right now, because that should give you an indication of what you could consider doing when you get out of the Marines. So we went through a list of things, and he had about 5 or 6 gifts and he acknowledged I could do this really, really well. He's got a great engineering mind. He could put things together without instructions. That's a gift. I can't build a Lego set without instructions. And I still need to go online to build a little Lego set.
So my son and I used to hang out, and when we would get together and we would decide, well, what do you want to do? He would say, well, let's go to Hobby Lobby and buy a bunch of supplies, and we'll go back and build something. So I said, okay. We would go back and I would look at the directions and start measuring out how to build a castle or something. And I would say, okay, I'm ready to go. And by the time I was ready to go, he had already started. Like he just cut it out by his eye and just built it. So his gift was really in creating things. When he was young, he used to design wrestling belts, champion wrestling belts, just out of his own imagination. So that was his gift. My question for you, Jay, is, was there a time that you didn't know your gifts like your son? And who guided you, or who helped you identify what your gifts were when you were at your I don't know?
You know, I sad to say, I didn't have in my life a mentor. You know, I didn't have someone that took me under their wing and said to me, look, my friend, this is what success looks like. This is what discipline looks like. And it's unfortunate because had I had someone, I think I would have achieved greater success faster. I wouldn't have hit the landmines along the way. And I've stepped on some serious landmines. I mean, I've blown my legs off. I've blown my legs off. I would have avoided those landmines. And that's why I said earlier, it took me a very long time. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks maybe 4 or 5 years ago, what I'm supposed to do, what my life is about. And then all of a sudden, it's like God opened up this curtain and he showed me all throughout when I was 13 years old and everything that I've ever did entrepreneurially with some sort of a business endeavor was always laced with an underlying theme of helping somebody. I was never technical. I was never a tactical person in terms of figuring things out, build. It was always an intangible service. And once I saw that within a split second, brother, it's like the clouds dissipated. And I realized, so this is who I am. And let me tell you something. It's refreshing to know that because it allows you to make decisions that fall in line with who you are. You don't take on projects. You don't do things that you know I'm not supposed to do that. That doesn't fall in with who I am. I'm not gonna go and fix your plumbing. I'm not gonna do things that I'm not wired or gifted to do because I'm crystal clear on why I'm here. So unfortunately, I did not have that mentor. But if somebody's listening to the show right now and they're like me, I didn't have anybody. I would say to them, you need to sit down. If you're still a little foggy about what your purpose is, if things are still a little bit unclear, there's no transparency about your future, you're still sort of trying to figure things out, take some time to identify your gifts. And if you cannot do that, if you can't take personal self-inspection to do that, go ask some people who know you and just ask them, hey, bro, what am I good at? Hey, bro, what do you think I'm good at? And they'll tell you. And you can amass that data, match it up with what you figured out, and you will quickly realize, so these are the things I'm good at, which makes sense why I hate my job because my job doesn't align itself with my gift. I like doing this because, and find ways to gravitate towards the things that you were gifted to do, and you're going to be a lot happier. That's for sure.
So that's a great point. So we talked about really having goals and envisioning the end result, envision yourself achieving the goal that you want to achieve. So whether it's financial goals, whether it's health goals, whether it's career goals, whether it's education goals, and really getting clear on what the end result is. And we also talked about, why people drift, because they really haven't identified what their gifts are. So they can definitely go through the exercise you talked about, sitting down and writing out their gifts, or if they're stuck, ask somebody what I'm good at. I know Dr. Dennis Kimbro talked about, what are the things that you get lost doing? Like you can just do, and like, there's no time. You would do it for free. So there's all these different ways. And if you're still lost as to what to do, you can always Google, how do I find out my gifts?
Right.
There'll be a ton of articles out there where you can go through and identify your gifts, because you said those gifts will lead you to your purpose. And then, like you said, by you fulfilling your purpose, that will lead you to passion. And so that's really the first step of really identifying, okay, how do I prepare myself to thrive in the new decade, right?
And it's true. And, you know, you can have also a little bit of fun with that. Sometimes when I meet with people, I start a little bit differently. I ask them, like, and this is one of the conversations I had with my son as we started to wrap up that conversation. You ask someone, okay, so what is it that I know for sure I don't want to do? What is it that I don't want to do? What is it that I don't like? What is it that I wouldn't care to do if you paid me $1 million a year? I'm not doing that. And by process of elimination, when you figure out the things you don't want, you eventually come across the things you do want. When you take off the table the things that don't serve you, you will find the things that serve you, because process of elimination leaves everything else behind. That's another wonderful way to identify your gifts and the things that you like doing and what you could probably have lots of fun and success at as well.
Yeah. And then also it's critically important to surround yourself. One of the things you said is surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who's not just going to be your comfort people, but people who are going to hold you accountable to the things that you really say that you want.
Absolutely.
And the key to that would be probably the people that make you the most uncomfortable. There's a reason for that, because they're probably holding you accountable to your word or doing the things that you feel would lead to growth.
Absolutely. We don't like to be uncomfortable, and we're going to run away from people that are going to make us feel uncomfortable. But those are the people that, if they have a good heart, are the ones we need to surround ourselves with, because they're going to allow us to see the blind spots that we don't see.
So would you say, are there, and everybody likes to say, hey, 5 steps to achieve this or 7 steps to achieve this. If you were to look at the common core ingredients to, let's say, lay out and say, okay, if I focus on these things, it will lead me to identifying, you know, what my purpose is and being successful. How would you kind of capsulate to make it simple for people to digest?
Well, I think if you look at 3 things, I will give you 3 things. Number one, you have to be honest with yourself. We love to deceive ourselves, right? You know, there's a scripture that says the heart is deceitful above all things, right? Because we don't embrace this super genuine, honesty with ourselves, because it hurts, right? I don't want to look in the mirror and say, man, you suck. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say
you fat. Go on, just say it. You fat, right?
Yeah, you fat, you suck, you dummy. You don't want to say that. We don't want to beat ourselves up. We want to prop ourselves up, because if nobody else does, we'll do a good job of it. Whether it's true or not true, we're going to do a good job of propping ourselves up.
Yeah.
But the first thing is, when you get real and get honest, here's the first thing I would say. Identify your deficiencies. Identify your deficiencies. And the reason why I say you have to take a brutal approach to it, because you may think you're good at something that you really aren't. Give an example. If you're not a good communicator, then that's a deficiency. So you could do one or 2 things. You can become great at communication, take the skills, the coaching, the classes, the courses, whatever, in order to become an effective communicator. But at the end of the day, if that's not something you care to do, then you cannot find yourself in a job, in a career, in a business that you have a lot of communication to do with people, because you're not going to do well. Does that make sense? Right? So identify your deficiencies. I won't mention identify your gifts, because that's something we spoke about. But then if you identify your deficiencies, to be fair to yourself, you have to identify your strengths. Give an example. My wife is she could sing. One of her gifts, she could sing. But that's not a strength. So there's a difference between a gift and a strength.
Okay.
She can sing, but don't put her in front of the room, in front of people. She'll pass out.
Okay.
Right? So she has a gift of singing, but you can't get her. In being in front of people to sing is not her strength. Now, if she pursued singing, maybe she could do recording where she's not in front of people. So you could have a gift, but it doesn't mean it's a strength. So identify your strength. The person might be good with numbers. You might be very good with numbers. That's something that leads you into the direction of something that could be profitable for you if you embrace something that has to do with numbers. Okay. And here's the third thing. And this is what the pandemic, I believe, for a lot of people, and I talked about this in my radio show today. If they were creative and innovative to take this season of what I call delay, because that's what the pandemic has done, is caused people to experience delay in their goals, delay in their dreams, delay in their promotion. You have to be serious about improvement and getting better. It doesn't matter if you have deficiencies, strengths, goals, dreams. If you're not serious about getting better, then it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Life is about progress, not stagnation. And if you're not growing, like the saying goes, if you're not growing, you're dying. But I think even if you're not growing, even if you say, well, how could I be dying if I'm not growing? I had a guy ask me that question one time. He says to me, but wait a minute. He says, I get it. If I'm not growing, that's not good. But if I'm in the same place that I was last year, why is that so bad? I'm not really dying. I said to him, you are dying because everybody else around you is growing. So everybody else is moving forward. They're growing. Yeah, you may not be worse off in terms of who you were 12 months ago or 3 years ago, but everybody else around you got better. So you are dying in their eyes. So if you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not improving, then all the efforts doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So you said three things. So number one, being honest, being real and self-assessing where you are, what's the reality? And then the second step is, you said, is it identifying your strengths?
Identify your deficiencies.
Your deficiencies, okay. And so on the opposite side of that is you identify your deficiencies, you also have pluses as well. So is it identifying your deficiencies and your strengths?
Right,
Is that the second piece?
correct. Identify your deficiencies, and then to be fair, identify your strengths.
Okay.
And then
the third thing you said is being committed to growth, personal development, and improving yourself, right?
Get better. You got to get better. Improving to get better.
And I would say that's a cycle, because then you would assess yourself to monitor your progress,
right,
and being real with your assessment, identifying your deficiencies and your strengths, and then being committed to a plan of continuous development.
That's exactly right.
You just continue that circle, because there's no level of greatness that cannot be exceeded.
Correct.
And it's perpetual. And whenever you feel like you have arrived, then you're never staying at the status quo. You're drifting back, and you just don't feel it, because people are always growing. As human beings, we're desired to grow. The minute our cell does not, die and then recode itself, or the minute cells do not reproduce, you're dead.
Correct. It is interesting. When I used to coach football, football back in New York. I used to tell, these are all like teenage kids, flag football. I used to tell them that you can never outperform yourself. Everybody else you can outperform, but the person you can never outperform is yourself, because you could always take it to the next level and to the next level and to the. You might be better than the other guy, but yourself, you can always outperform yourself. You can always do better, do more, grow. So you'll always be chasing your own performance. And if you focus on that, you'll smoke them. You'll smoke the rest of the guys. Because you may outperform the worst guy on that team, and you think you've arrived, but you just outperformed the worst guy. But yourself, outperforming yourself, that focus will help you smoke all the other guys without you even having to pay attention to that.
And to piggyback on that, when you look at the people who have reached their level of success in anything in business, whether it's Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Robert Smith, or you look at sports, LeBron, Kobe, Shaq, or Curry,
Stephen
Steph
Curry.
Curry. They are at their top of the game. And then every year, they put in place a program to get even better. And so that's just what you're saying. It's like you can never outperform yourself, because whatever level you're at, you can always do better. And it's being committed to that process. And so Jay, we can talk forever on this. If people want to get in touch with you to continue this conversation or to get some of your wisdom or your books, how do they get in touch with you?
They can track me down on my website, thejaymaymi.com. That's one way. They could also find me on my Facebook page, my fan page, The Jay Maymi. They could also send me an email, jay@thejaymaymi.com. They can visit my show site, thejaymaymitalkshow.com. There's always tons of ways to reach out to me. In the worst case scenario, my phone number is 212-203-1425. Easy to remember. It's 2 area codes, 212 and 203. That's the 2 area codes from New York and Connecticut. And then the last 4 digits, 1425.
And there's a link to your PowerPoint presentation that goes into more detail of things that we didn't even cover. That's going to be available in the description on YouTube, and then links to how to get in touch with you. And so
Correct.
Definitely, look at this over and over again, save it, share it. And so as we wrap this up, Jay, everybody's attention span is a little bit different. And so I find that the average watch time of videos are usually like anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes. So if someone is watching, let's say, the ending of this, and they want to get a good nugget of what we talked about and what you want people to walk away with, how would you encapsulate that?
I would say, look, 2021 is about 6 weeks away. And I know that most people are exhausted with this year. They've had it, they're fed up. And I get it. I've had my fill of it as well. But what you start to do right now, and hopefully what you started to do a few weeks ago, and if you haven't, that's okay. You still got 6 weeks. How you pivot over the next 6 weeks will determine how you are able to rebound in 2021, because make no mistake about it, 2021 is the year of the rebound. That's what it is. It's the year of the rebound. It's the year of recovery and rebounding from this year. But if you are not intent on that, by identifying the deficiencies that we talked about, also your strengths, but more importantly, committing to getting better over these next 6 weeks and probably into the early part of next year, then your rebound, your recovery may not be all that it can be. And if you're struggling, you might say, Jay, I get it, deficiencies, I can identify my strength, I'm still fuzzy on that, and I don't even know if I can get better. I have nothing to get better. Take some time, do some assessment, and start to identify your gifts. Your gifts are not going to lie to you. You know what they are if you just take time to consider them. Your gifts are not going to lie to you. Once you know that, they're going to reveal your assignment. And that's when you can look at your assignment and then match it up with your deficiencies, your strengths, and then your commitment to get better. If you take the time to do that, if nothing else over the next 6 weeks, you will have a strong 2021 recovery. You will rebound in a way that 2020 will be such a thing of the past. But if you don't do that, you'll continue to feel the sting and the leftovers of 2020 long into 2021. So one of the things I'm excited about is also my radio show on 570 AM KLIF. It's heard, the radio show is heard on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. You can catch it live by tuning into the station 570 AM or right at my own site, the jmaymitalkshow.com. The Listen Live tab will plug you right into the show on Sunday mornings at 11. People can track me down that way too.
Thank you again, Jay. And like I said, we can talk forever. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that people can get in touch with you. So on the very bottom of this YouTube, in the description, there are links to getting in touch with you and other resources, including the PowerPoint, a PDF of this presentation. So don't let this be the last time you look at this video. Definitely like us, comment, share it with other people, because there's someone in your circle that can be blessed by hearing about the Empower series. I also want to thank Comerica Bank for their long-term relationship with the Empower series, AE Media Group, and most importantly, you, for donating your time, volunteering, your resources, as well as investing your time in watching our programs and sharing them with other people. But most importantly, I want you to get from the Empower series what you're supposed to get. Share it with someone else, and then let us know. Until we meet again, be empowered and inspired to thrive. Definitely don't let this be the last time that we stay connected. Follow us on social media. We're on 5 social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Share us with other people and stay connected.